Hi, my name is Portia Page and I am the author of Pilates Illustrated. I'm here today with a little short sequence of less than 20 exercises that you can do in under 20 minutes. It's in my book. The series is slightly altered to accommodate for the fact that I will not be standing, and it's on page 191 if you want to follow along. Okay, so we start off with some simple shoulder warming exercises. And either in standing or in low kneeling like I am, you're just going to take the arms in front and reach the shoulders forward and back into protraction and retraction. Moving just through the scapula, really feeling them slide and glide, maybe snap, crackle, and pop bit. And then just take the arms down and lift and lower like a shoulder shrug. And if you want to do a little more forceful, breathe in, let it go. Breathe in. Let it go. A couple more times. And then we'll move into some arm stretches, taking one arm across, feeling the stretch along the side and down to the elbow from the shoulder, and then switch and the other side. For the leg stretches that would normally be done standing up, we're just going to take a little side seat, take one leg behind, and pushing the hip forward, pull back with that heel, push away from the floor, and feel a little stretch here in the hip flexor. We'll also take it to a lift, pushing away from the floor with the bottom hand, reaching overhead with the free hand. Take a seat, do a little switch, and we do the same thing. So again, you're going to pull the heel into the butt, push the hip up, lift, pull, and lift again. Arm comes up. Feel that nice little stretch. Good. And then the next exercise is pelvic clock. So I'm going to do that from a supine position on your back with the knees bent, pulled in close to your heels. Place the heel of the hand right along the hip bones in front. The fingertips make a little triangle on the pubic bone, and we'll rock from belly button to tailbone. That's our 12 to 6 of the clock. And then going from right to left hip. Yeah. And then we'll make a little circle. 6 o'clock to one side, up to 12, the other side, and then around the other way. These just feel really nice on the low back. Do one more in each direction. Good. And that just feels really nice. Take the knees into the chest, roll yourself up, and roll yourself to all fours. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and we'll go through a couple of cow and cats. This is getting more into the rest of the spine, getting some nice mobility there from the base of the neck to the tailbone, starting to activate and feel the work in the low belly, the stretch in the low back. Find a nice neutral position, and then from here, we're going to do that same thing that we did in the high kneeling, just bringing shoulder blades back and away. So retraction, protraction. We also call these sternum drops. Okay, good. Now find a nice neutral position. Pick up the leg that's closest to the camera, and we're just going to swivel back and forth, getting the leg bone to move in the hip socket, and then add some spinal lateral flexion to each side. This one feels really nice on the trunk side of the body. It also gets the hamstrings to work. Let's try the other side. Pick up the foot, keep the knee down underneath the hip, and just back and forth like a little swivel. Yeah, getting that leg bone to move in the hip socket, and then we'll add in that spinal lateral flexion to each side. Good. Really feeling the work in the side of the trunk, feeling the hamstrings of that lifted foot working to keep the heel towards the glute, and then release and put the foot down. Sit back so you can take some weight off of the wrists and take a nice long stretch in child's pose. Let the hips drop back down towards the heels. Spread the fingertips nice and wide, and then just reach your spine back and let the forehead drop. Reach fingertips one way, the sit bones in the opposite direction. And then from there, bring it onto one side. So facing the camera, you'll bring your knees in front of the hips, the shins maybe parallel with the top of your mat. Take the bottom arm underneath the shoulder and out in front. Let the head hang, and if you need to, you can always use a pillow or some rolled up towels to support the head and neck. And we'll go into telescope, reaching forward and sliding back. And then forward, and then back. And we also have pinwheel, which is really nice. You reach above the head, you can let the elbow bend, circle it around and over the hip. Good, and we'll do that one more time. Excellent. And then from here, just pick yourself up. Take a seat. We'll get to the other side in just a minute. I'm going to turn slightly to the side. We get a little bit of footwork. So in a nice upright seated position, I'll come up here so you can see head stacked above shoulders, above ribs, above hips, hands down by the side. Make little windshield wipers going back and forth from right to left. This is nice for building up strength and posture, good alignment in the trunk. Then take a circle in one direction, and we'll just do 4. This feels great on the ankles, getting them to mobilize. Going the other direction, all while keeping our spine up nice and tall, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And our last little one here is with the ankles flexed, toes pulled back to the shins, push just the toes away, feel your thighs activate. Then point the toes, pull just the toes back and flex at the ankle. And again, ball of the foot, point, pull back and flex. We'll just do one more from there. There we go. And then come on to the other side for our telescope and pinwheel. Again, knees lined up with hips, shins parallel with the front of the mat, head over the shoulder. Add that prop if you need it. Stack the hands, reaching forward, that's the telescope, and then back. And if I didn't have that garage door there, I would go all the way back. So if you've got more room, you can certainly do that. And then we'll take it into the pinwheel. Nice big reach overhead. You can let the elbow bend if you need. I'm doing that because of the wall behind me or the garage door behind me. Good. It's just a nice way to mobilize the shoulders. And then from here, we're going to take it onto the back. Reach the legs out nice and long. Arms overhead. Lift arms, head, and roll yourself up. Reaching through the feet to reach forward. Take a stretch and roll back down. This is just the roll up. And if you need assistance, maybe bend the knees, lift to the point where you get stuck, and then walk your feet out with your hands behind your thighs until you come to a seat. We're going to do one more time. This time we'll stay down, roll over onto your belly, and taking the back hand bent like this with the palm flat, bend the front knee or the thigh that's closest to me and grasp the top of the ankle. First, we're going to pull heel to butt. Feel a stretch across the knee. Then squeeze the glute, push the hip down and push the foot away and lift up a little bit. So we're getting a nice little stretch for the top of the thigh, the hip flexor, and maybe even into the shoulder. Little release, other side. Again, heel to butt first. Then squeeze the glute, push that hip down, and then pull the arm back with the foot, and then a release. Now that we've got that a little bit warmed up, take the feet hip distance, let the tailbone get long with the low back, squeeze the glutes just a little, not too much. Take the hands by and underneath your chest, pull the heel of the hand back and peel the chest forward for a little baby swan. and then lower down. Keeping your feet nice and intact with the floor. We're going to do 2 more, and I'm actually pushing on my hands. Yeah. And now this time we're going to hold it up. Now I'm going to give the glutes a little more squeeze and a little more squeeze and brace in the low belly. And then I'm going to lower just a bit and try to hover my hands. And then release. This time the knees will stay down. Push up, push back. Take that little stretch. Oh, yes. For the low back. And then we'll come up. I'll face this way this time. Taking a seat. This time we're going to have the feet just about a little bit wider than the hips. Again, finding that nice tall seat above your sit bones. Draw the ribs in. Reach the arms forward. We're going to come into what's called spine stretch. A little stretch forward and then back and then forward. And you'll notice that I'm lifting up, out, and then over. Restacking nice and tall. One more time. Up and over. And then I'm going to take the arms to the side with the elbows bent. Reaching up and over to the side. Arms come front. Other side. And one more to each side. So we get that nice stretch to the lateral side of the body. Come up. And last time to the back. And I'm going to face you just a little bit more. Moving into an exercise called the saw. With the sit bones anchored, the heels anchored, and the legs strong and active. Lift up out of the sit bones, take the arms wide. I'm going to rotate towards one leg and then pull back with that sit bone as I reach and saw off my pinky toe and then roll back up. And then the other direction and reach and up. It's nice to get a little rhythm going with this because it helps you to facilitate the movement. It feels good in the body. Little dynamic movement. Little dynamic stretches. And the last one. And then we come up and we release. We've got one more little exercise. So find yourself some room towards one end of the mat. That's where your feet will be. We're going to do something called rolling like a ball because it'll just help to iron out the spine. And I'm going to do it sort of loose. So allow yourself to find the weight into your sit bone and pull back, scoop in, and lift the knees up. And we'll actually take behind the thighs, let the heels come away from your sit bones, and then round the elbows and pull the thigh in as you pull back. So we get that nice little scoop and balance. It's an inhale, the head will stay up, and an exhale to roll up and balance. Inhale, exhale. And this just feels pretty darn yummy on the spine, on the low back. And it does work your abs too. And then one more for good measure. And there we go. There's your little sequence for restoring flexibility, just getting some blood flow, and a real quick and easy movement pattern that you can do. Again, that's from my Pilates Illustrated book, and Human Kinetics is having 50% off until the end of the month. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.